Welcome to Reconnecting with Wholeness, the podcast where we dive deep into the messy, beautiful journey of coming home to yourself. I'm your host, Paige, and together we'll gently question everything, bringing you deeper into self-awareness, acceptance, and trust. So take a breath, settle in, and let's begin. Hello, today is the day. We are getting into the nervous system, and I am going to keep this episode probably fairly brief. I do have a little bit of a cold today, and I want to just kind of give an overview of the nervous system, and then next week we'll dive in a little bit deeper. So to get started, I think that we talk about nervous system regulation a fair amount nowadays, and I think that's great. I also think it's important to know what it is that we're actually talking about. So our nervous system is not just our fight or flight response or even our digest and rest response, which is what a lot of people are talking about when we talk about a regulated nervous system. We're talking about a specific component of our nervous system. Our nervous system as a whole is widely separated into two different parts. Our central nervous system, which is kind of like our command center. That is really our brain and spinal cord. It is really the place where I would say we receive information and then from there kind of send out commands. Then we also have our peripheral nervous system, and that is then also divided into two parts. Our autonomic nervous system and our somatic nervous system. So our somatic nervous system is voluntary movement, walking, writing, anything you do that you kind of have to think about. Our autonomic is all of those things you don't have to think about. We don't really have to think about breathing. Now, of course, that doesn't mean we can't be conscious about our breath and intentionally breathe in certain patterns. Of course, we can do that, and some of us do that. However, you don't have to think about breathing. You don't have to think about making your heart beat. You don't have to think about expanding lungs and your digestion and some of those types of things, right? So that's really what we're talking about. When we talk about nervous system regulation, we're talking about that autonomic nervous system. Those things that are really involuntarily controlled. And that has two different states. Our parasympathetic, or rest and digest, and our sympathetic, fight or flight, freeze and fawn, because there's more than just fight or flight. That stress response, that sympathetic nervous system is responsible for a lot of stuff, and so is our parasympathetic nervous system, and they really are meant to work in tandem with each other. And I think that this is an important point to make, because oftentimes when we hear nervous system response, or regulated nervous system, what people are talking about is activating that parasympathetic. And that comes from the fact that we, as kind of a society and as a culture right now, are so different from where we used to be. And often we aren't activating that parasympathetic, that rest and digest. And as a result, we're in this chronic stress state, which our body isn't meant to be in, right? And at the same time, the goal isn't to be in a parasympathetic state all the time. It's not meant to be in a rest state all the time. It is meant to go back and forth between the two, and to be able to go back and forth between the two relatively easily, right? So the idea is, back in olden days when we were in teepees and tents, the idea is that we see something as danger, right? We see a tiger, and our sympathetic nervous system, our stress response kicks in and says, oh, I need to do something to get out of here. And Maybe that something is freezing. Maybe that something is running away. Maybe that something is fighting the tiger. But that's really like what the nervous system response is for, right? It's to say, okay, I'm in danger and I need to get out of danger. And then once danger goes away, our heart rate's supposed to come back down, things are supposed to come back to normal, and that parasympathetic response is supposed to come back. The problem is we're not in a place anymore where we're fighting off, typically, tigers or lions. And instead, it is stress from jobs and financial worries and all of these other things that have our nervous system in a sympathetic state or in a stress response state fairly often. So you might be asking me like, well, how do I know what state I'm in? I'm going to say like, we still, even if your nervous system isn't that regulated, you're still probably going back and forth between those two. And the example that I like to use, which maybe I shouldn't use this, but I'm going to here anyway, is I have a 4-year-old, I have a daughter, and she does not care what I'm doing, where I am, whatever, right? She just doesn't care. However, my body will not allow me to use the bathroom in any form if she is around. My nervous system is like, nope, this is not what we're doing right now. And so I need her to leave the bathroom and close the door so that way I can do whatever it is that I need to do. And that is like a perfect example of that like nervous system response, right? Like it's involuntary. It's not up to me. Like I can think about it, I can try to relax, but if she's around, I'm on alert, right? And so that stress response is kicked in, not because she's a danger to me, but because there's something else that I have to look out for, right? And so there's kind of this like hyper focused, and it doesn't allow me to relax and get into that parasympathetic state enough to do whatever it is that I need to do, right? So this is just like a very easy example of how we can have a nervous system response that isn't, again, like it's not even a danger, right? It's not like it's not like my safety is being threatened, but it's like now there's something else that I have to look out for. And so that creates a stress response in me automatically. Now, you may not be able to notice when you get those stress responses. I personally, just because it's part of who I am, I like to use the human body. It gives me kind of a gauge to say, okay, can I see like when does my heart start racing, right? Because that is a stress response, right? So is blood pressure, but I cannot tell on my own, like unless you have a blood pressure machine, I can't tell where mine's at. But like my heart rate, I can, right? I can kind of get a gauge of like, okay, yep, like my heart rate's going, it's stressing me out, this isn't working. If somebody suffers from like panic attacks or anxiety attacks, that's probably your nervous system going a little bit haywire. I had an experience like that, I don't know, it was a couple of weekends ago, and yeah, I mean, it like pretty much sent me into like a panic attack, and I was like, okay, like my nervous system just like short-circuited, can't do this, we're gonna take a step back, right? And we don't always know ahead of time, like either A, that's going to happen, or B, how to handle those situations, right? And I mean, please, if you actually have like regular reoccurring panic or anxiety attacks, please go see like an actual health professional. Don't just listen to my podcast. See somebody for that. And also, right, understanding that there are ways to control our breath and to activate that parasympathetic nervous system that says like, it's okay, we're safe. And I realize that those are kind of maybe extreme examples, but what I want to point out is that kind of as always for me, right? Like my first step is always awareness. And so really just getting into an awareness of like, do you know when you're having a stress response? Do you know when you genuinely like feel safe and you are able to relax? Like what is that? Because it's going to be different. And I know like I have a body that is very, it's kind of a pain, honestly. Like it just really kind of is. My body will like shut down and it's like, nope, we're not doing this. And it is very vocal, I guess is what I would say, where I recognize that not everybody's is. And so just the question that I want to kind of leave you with, because I don't even want to go into like, what is your response when you're in a stress state yet? We'll talk about that probably next week. But can you even tell when you're in a stress response? Because that's going to be like the first thing. And also understanding that because you're in a stress response, because that sympathetic nervous system is activated, that's not a bad thing. Like we need it, and we need it to continue to tell us times that we feel like we're in danger. That is its purpose. Its purpose is to keep us safe, and its purpose is to be there for activity. I mean, we use it during exercise. We use it for other things as well, not just like danger, but it's the thing that we know most commonly about it. Right? And it's the thing that is talked about the most. So when you have those moments, can you tell like, oh, okay, like I'm in a stress response state, whether it's a big one or a little one, right? Whether it's like, oh, okay, I thought that I had to go to the bathroom. I thought that I had to pee. And now that I'm in here and I'm in here with my partner or my kid or my dog or whoever, right? Like, oh, I actually can't go. Like, that's not just like a person is shy in this area. That could very well be a nervous system response of like, nope, there's somebody else in here. And so it feels like it is unsafe to do this thing. And I want to use examples like that because we're not in the same situation that we were back in the olden days when we lived in tents, right? I already kind of said this, but what we perceive as threats or as dangers are different today than they were back then. And so today it might be somebody yelling at you, or it might be a certain look, or it might be a conversation. It could be somebody getting defensive. It could be, right? Like it could be somebody who said something that hurt you, right? Like it depends based off of so many things, right? Like our upbringing really conditions our nervous system. If we're in any sort of like traumatic or abusive relationships, that conditions our nervous system and rewires it. Like there's a lot of different factors here. And so all of those things can play in, and I am certainly not anyone to tell you whether what you perceive as a threat is or isn't, right? My question is just simply to say, can you tell when you have that nervous system reaction, right? Can you tell when your breathing shifts? Can you tell when your heart rate changes? Can you tell, like, for me, I don't even know that it's always anymore like a heart rate response, but I can just tell like my nervous system kind of like short circuits. My whole body kind of can't do what it's supposed to do. I don't know how else to put it. So that's really just what I want us to tune into this week. See throughout the week as you're living your life, you're going about the things. Hopefully nobody's in any actual dangerous situations, but as you go throughout the week, can you see when that nervous system response happens for you? When you move into that fight or flight response, when you move into that stress response, to say like, oh, okay, now I am in this. And maybe bonus points, I don't know. Can you maybe not move yourself out of it, but can you tell when you get into that like parasympathetic? Can you tell when your body feels like it is safe to do whatever it is that it wants to do? So I will leave you with that for this week, and we'll talk a little more next week about those actual nervous system responses and what they might look like. And until then, I hope you all have a wonderful week.
Thanks for joining me today on Reconnecting with Wholeness. I invite you to take what resonated and explore how it shows up in your own life. Keep in mind, even the smallest shifts can spark transformation. If today's episode felt valuable for you, I'd love to hear your thoughts. Share it, leave a review, or connect with me on social media. Until next time, keep exploring, keep feeling, and keep reconnecting with the wholeness that's already within you. Take care, and I'll see you in the next episode.